Problem is, there's still people now hoarding weapons, thinking that at some point they may need to take on the American military, and they think they have a shot, right?
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about comedian Neal Brennan and a joke of his about the Second Amendment that's currently going viral all over the internet, TikTok, Twitter, etc. Now, before I get into the video, which I do have, let's back up a little bit and talk about who this guy Neal Brennan is and the purpose of his joke. Now, Neal Brennan, as I said, is a comedian. He is a guy that co-created and co-wrote The Chappelle Show alongside Dave Chappelle, obviously, back on Comedy Central many years ago. He's also a regular comedian. He has his own Netflix special called 3 Mic, so he's out there still slinging jokes. And this most recent joke was his view on the Second Amendment, but the way he phrased it makes me think this is his view of how a civil war would go in this country. And before I go any further, let's go ahead and roll the clip. If you want to see the clip in full without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, visit the link in the bio and go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's do this way. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Yeah, my problem with guns is I don't buy either side's arguments completely, right? So the conservative argument is that guns are written in the Constitution because the Founding Fathers thought if all the citizens have guns, then the government will have to do what they say or else the people will rise up and fight the government, right? Which is a legitimately great idea.
Let's pause right there. That's part of it. That's just part of it. Okay, that's not the only reason. That's just to fight the tyrannical government. It's also to protect yourself against, outside forces, outside invaders, foreign countries. Your neighbor might go rogue. A different community, they might go rogue. Because contrary to popular belief, there's been potential wars between states before we had this whole idea of federalism take over, but different story, I digress. Let's let him finish.
Legitimately great idea in the 1700s. But the problem is there's still people now hoarding weapons, thinking that at some point they may need to take on the American military, and they think they have a shot, right? And look, maybe they're right, which is why I'm proposing we test their theory and once a year have a head-to-head showdown.
So here is the crux, the soul of the joke, right? And this is where it makes me think he's thinking about this could be what a civil war looks like. Okay, you guys, regular Americans against the military. Let's let him flesh it out here.
Say 100 members of the NRA versus, 2 members of the military. Broadcasted on Fox, Christmas Day. Like, Merry Christmas and welcome to the 2022 NRA Military Showdown. Let's go down to the field of battle, meet one of our NRA combatants. Sir, what's your name? What kind of weapon do you work with? And he's like, my name's Andy Baker, and I got an AR-15, wearing Kevlar head to toe. Andy, how confident are you, scale of 1 to 10? Fucking a million. We're going to check in with the military real quick, and they cut to one guy by himself in a bunker, and he's like, my name's Staff Sergeant Jeremiah Walker. And they're like, Jeremiah, what kind of weapon do you work with? And he's like, look, I don't know if this is fair, but I'm working with a drone.
So you get the idea, right? He's saying, okay, you got one guy, AR-15, body armor, et cetera, and then the other guy, he has a drone. I'm going to talk about that, the difference in between the firepower in the moment.
Yeah, it's equipped with 8 Hellfire missiles and a high-powered camera. As you can see on this monitor here, the NRA fellas are actually in just one big cluster. So I'm gonna. We started, all right. Yeah. So I'm gonna hit this button right here. Yeah. Now they're all dead. That'll do it for this year's NRA Military Showdown.
So he thinks it just be that simple, just one button. Like a military guy, he'd just have one button and then everybody's dead, whatever. So I guess in his mind, we shouldn't have guns because there's no use fighting up against the military since they have such high power. Forget foreign invaders that may come on land. Forget the military that might come on land and not use a drone. Forget anybody that could be just a rogue neighbor coming across the border illegally. Forget anything like that. Random criminal school shooting. Forget anything like that. Let's just disarm people because he thinks the U.S. military has better firepower. All right. And again, I'm going to get into that. I want to see if he adds anything here in the last 10 seconds of the clip.
By Whole Foods.
Okay, so that's that. That is that. There's a lot to unpack there. There's a whole lot to unpack there. First of all, to think that quote unquote NRA, like regular normies in the military, are different, that's kind of being ignorant, or you're not really being serious, because a lot of these guys in the NRA are veterans. Some of these guys may be active duty military, and they're not really that much different from each other. So what makes you think that there's going to be a battle between these people and it won't be any kind of crossover? What makes you think that a regular Joe can't get his hands on a drone or any kind of other weapon that he shouldn't have? You got these regular gangbangers in Chicago that have fully automatic Glock pistols with the switch on the back. If these guys have these things that are totally illegal, to buy the gun for them is illegal. To have the switch is super illegal. You can't even get that in the United States. Normally, you can buy a Glock handgun, but to get the switch on the back, that's totally illegal. So how did they have these things? Like, what's going on? You think that a regular person in the USA or a highly connected civilian cannot get high-powered military-type weapons? You're a fool. The cartel has that kind of stuff down in Mexico. I'm not sure about a drone, like with missiles on it, but they have very high-powered weaponry, more than you'd be able to get at Bob's gun store here in the USA. Furthermore, let's talk about the U.S. military and their might globally. Matter of fact, let's talk about drone strikes. How accurate are those? Didn't they say like 80, 90% of the drone strikes that happened, or at one particular point in time, 80, 90% of the drone strikes that happened did not hit their target? The target wasn't there. You drone in somebody you think is some top level person in the Taliban, you end up hitting a school full of children or a wedding or something like that. So how accurate is a drone strike really? And why couldn't American regular citizens get their hands on very high powered weapons like that? I think we probably couldn't get our hands on nuclear weapons. That'd be the ultimate deterrent. Understand this. You're talking about the U.S. military and our threat worldwide is the nukes. If we don't use the nukes, a lot of the other things we have can be, a lot of the other things we have can be fought. We just saw what happened in Afghanistan. We lost against the Taliban. 20 years, I'm not, $1 trillion maybe, right around that. A little more, a little less, doesn't really matter. We spent a lot of money, a lot of American lives, a lot of time, and the Taliban still rule. How did that happen? The world's best military? Okay, but the Taliban, we couldn't beat them. Now, I'm sure that there are many more Americans who are armed and trained than there are Taliban over there, but it took us 20 years and all this money, and we couldn't beat them. Did we win in Vietnam? How about Iraq? How about anywhere in the Middle East? Did we actually win? We can like contain things to a certain extent, but did we win? That's the question. So if we didn't really win over there with an inferior force, inferior weapons, a lot less money, what makes this guy think that a civil war over here would just be like Americans get rolled over just instantly like that? There are over 300 million guns out in the wild in the hands of owners in this country. Over 100 million owners. Over 100 million owners. That's a lot more than the Taliban. Less than 100,000 people. That's a lot more than the Viet Cong and everything else. So what makes him think that it'll be an easy victory? I mean, unless you're going to bring out nuclear weapons and just level out New York City or something like that, but you're not going to do that. So what he's talking about right there, it doesn't make a lot of sense. If you're talking about just a a small handful of guys that want to attack the military for some reason, that's something else. But let's just say the military was like, okay, all gun owners, you got to surrender your weapons or we're going to come and take them. That's going to be an issue. And if there was a war, I'm not saying that there should be. I don't advocate for war or violence, so don't get that misunderstood. But if there was a civil war in the USA, I do not think, and as a matter of fact, I know that it would not go the way that that guy is thinking. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about what Neil Brennan said right there about his joke about Second Amendment and the potential civil war or whatever your thoughts are? Let me know in the comments below. You guys pretty much know where I'm at. The Second Amendment is not just for defending yourself against a tyrannical government. It's also about defending your home against outside forces, rogue neighbors, any kind of danger, any kind of threat. Hunting as well, hey, I might need that. I might be hungry and I might not have any other way to get my food than to pierce some slow moving animal's torso to go ahead and get that. I might need that. I have the right to bear arms, shall not be infringed. That little joke he did, okay, cool. People in the audience are kind of ignorant, don't know any better. But those of us that know better, we know that that was just jokes. It was not really serious. And when it comes down to it, when things really get crazy, what he said will not be how things actually play out. But I hope and pray they don't get to that particular point. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.